Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're back on GT Sport and we're back with round number 1 of the new season in the FIA Manufacturers Championship. It's driving at Bathurst in the Group 3 cars, as you can see here. I didn't do the Nations race, I decided just to do the Bathurst race. Obviously driving the Porsche still, we've not been allowed to change our cars again, so we're stuck with these cars for the foreseeable future. I have no idea when we're going to be able to change them again. I'm hoping after this season we'll be able to go to something different. As you can see now, this was my out lap for my main lap that I was going to go for. The first lap, lap 2, I didn't do a very good lap at all. It was a 2:03.5. I really didn't hook the lap up. You can see Zocchi coming through for one of his laps, so I decided to pull over, let Zocchi through, let him get his lap complete, a little flash of the lights to say thank you there, and then going to start my lap and hope to get the favour return from Zocchi. But I think he was actually on, he said he was doing a few laps in qualifying. He'd done quite a few laps on the medium tyre, so I just wanted to go for this lap because I knew I could get into the 202s fairly comfortably with an okay lap. You can see didn't quite hook that first corner up, but managed to get okay speed on the exit and working our way up the hill. Coming for the first sector split, I expected to be up even with that mistake because the first sector on my main lap wasn't very good. You can see over a 10th up already. And the middle sector, this was where I knew I'd be able to gain quite a bit of time because on my main lap, the first lap I didn't hook this section up at all. I got the rear loose going through this turn left and lost a lot of time. So I knew that as long as I kept it fairly clean and reasonably well driven, I should be able to gain quite a lot of time on my original lap, on lap 2, you can see there. So just staying with Zocchi at the moment, was hoping that he was going to pull out the way because he seemed to be losing a lot of time. I think his tyres were pretty much dead at this point. Was hoping that he would just move out the way. You can see he's struggling quite a lot with the grip. I'm driving okay, running a little bit wide there, probably some of the dirty air from Zocchi's car. And we come to the downhill section. He goes into these corners and he doesn't really hook it up, and you can see he's pressed start to exit in the middle of the corner, and that was frustrating for me because I was 6 tenths up on that second sector split, so I think I would have gained another few tenths on the last sector. Would have probably gone over the line on a 202.6 or 7, something like that, and would have comfortably had pole position. But unfortunately, ended up starting from P3. I would have rather have Zocchi just to carried on and then moved over out of the line when I had gone through. Really should have checked behind him at cars coming through. It's something I try to always do, is check for cars that are on good laps and try and give them space. So I was a little bit disappointed there to obviously lose out on that lap that was heading for a very nice 202, probably a 202.5 to 8 or something like that. But starting from P3, you see P2 just up ahead, going through the corner, loses control, and I had to back out the throttle a bit there as he lost control of the car on turn 1, so out the race straight away pretty much. And because of that, that's given the Lamborghini behind me the invitation to get the slipstream. You can see obviously that Lamborghini is so fast down the straight. There's no defending from that car at Bathurst. It's just so fast. Look how fast it is. It's in another league compared to the Porsche down the straight. So easily able to get past on the straight. So now I wanted to put pressure on this section because this is where the Porsche is going to be fast. So I wanted to really get past straight away because I knew that I was probably a bit faster than Calster around Bathurst in the cars that we're in here now. So I wanted to put a lot of pressure on. You can see harassing that rear of that car, really putting him under a lot of pressure, trying to make him force him into an error, driving inches away from the rear of the bumper of that Lamborghini. Had a little look up the inside, wasn't able to make the move there, and then going through the really fast left-hand corner, still trying to put him under a lot of pressure. You can see how close we are to Calster now as he makes a little error going into that section. I managed to go around the corner and just about get ahead of him as he goes into the wall. He turned too early into the fast left-hand corner, clipped the wall, and I took advantage of that and got myself back up into P2. And straight away wanted to head about getting a gap over 1 second just so he's not going to pick up a massive slipstream. You can see straight away managing to pull a little bit of a gap to Calster and giving myself a cushion now as we now head off for P1. Now the aim obviously is to catch up to P1. He's obviously going to be pushing hard in that BMW, but I felt like I had the speed because I knew after, obviously with qualifying, didn't reflect how fast I knew I was here. With that incident with Zocchi, it lost me the chance of pole position. So I knew that I would be able to catch up to P1 fairly quickly if I just keep it solid now and just try and keep pushing all the way to obviously before the pit stop phase. I wasn't sure what tyres he was on. I expected him to be on the hard tyre, obviously because the medium tyre was not a good race tyre here. You could get 2 laps out of it, and then lap 3 it was pretty much dead with no grip at all. So the medium tyre I stayed away from. I was just doing the direct split down the middle, 4 laps on each stint, and sticking to the racing hard tyre. You can see gaining slightly already on P1. He's about 1.5 seconds ahead. So now I've just got to try and gain as much time as possible to get in the slipstream. You can see I've managed to get quite a comfortable lead to Kaust already, 1.5 seconds ahead. So pulled a nice gap straight away in that early sector there on sector 1 and the last sector of lap 1. Managed to give myself a nice cushion so that he couldn't pick up any sort of slipstream. Obviously I didn't want that Lamborghini to get anywhere near the slipstream, because if it does, it gains so much time. It's probably one of the fastest cars in a straight line now, the Lamborghini. It is really, especially in the acceleration, it's got such good acceleration as well. As you can see, P1's starting to struggle a lot now, clipping the walls a lot, again clipping the walls, sparks flying everywhere, and this is just helping me gain and gain and gain. You can see getting very close to picking up the slipstream already as we go through to the downhill section, trying to just hook these corners up and just try and keep it smooth. Don't want to take too much wear out the tyres, obviously, by sliding too much. I learnt that from the practice race we did. That's why I've got the brake balance all the way to the front, pretty much -3 there, because I learned that in the practice race, if you had it on even -2, the difference between -2 and -3 was quite large. The car behaved a lot different, especially when them tyres started to fade off. And you can see now in the slipstream of P1 and managing to get a comfortable lead. 1.8 seconds ahead of Kaust there. So that position's getting comfortable now. But look at the difference in the acceleration down the straight, as Kaust is managing to gain nearly 2/10 just on the straight line speed. And I've actually got the slipstream of P1 as well, so that really does show how strong that Lamborghini is down the straight. But the BMW looks like it's really starting to struggle now as we come to the end of lap 2. Doesn't look like he's got much grip at all, so maybe he was on different tyres. At this point I just thought he was on hard tyres, struggling for speed. I didn't really have any sort of idea of what tyre he might be on. As we have a little look back at myself, trying to put him under a lot of pressure, trying to get a good clean exit from that final corner. Got a little bit of oversteer, losing me a tiny bit of time on the accelerator, as I just couldn't get the power down as smoothly as I would have liked, but luckily still within that slipstream, and just gaining and gaining and gaining as we go up the hill all the way to the middle sector at Bathurst. And now I want to do exactly what I did to Kaust, put a lot of pressure on and force a mistake. This is what I wanted to do. I felt like my car was clearly in better condition. You can see the BMW was really struggling at this stage of the race, so I wanted to put him under a lot of pressure. You can see getting so close to the rear of that BMW again, looking around, trying to find the way past as we come through to the fast right hand corner. Now you're going to see he's going to go into this corner and he clips the wall quite hard, and that gives me an opportunity. I go down the left hand side trying to get my car up the inside, and there's contact, and I actually make the move and get myself up a position. So I actually picked up a 5-second penalty there, and when we're going to have a little look at that instant at the end of the race, I'm going to show you why. To be fair, it was aggressive, it was possibly a little bit too aggressive, but he made the mistake, he hit the wall, he lost time, and the reason I could go for that move was because he made the mistake by hitting the wall. So there was no way I was going to just lift off now and let him back past, because I got a 5-second penalty. I decided my best bet now is just to go for it. Had to really push now all the way to the finishing line. Obviously with a 5-second penalty, it's going to be close whether I can build that lead up. I'm going to have to drive really well and just keep pushing all the way to the finishing line. But we're going to have a little look why the BMW was struggling so much. So checking the pit lane entry now at P3. When he goes in the pits, it's because he was on the medium tyres, so his tyres were completely gone. He had no grip going through the corner. He lost control of the rear, hit the wall. That's why he really shouldn't have been. I mean, the medium tyres were just not a good tyre, but I seen him go in the pits at this point. I seen him disappear, and then I saw him in the pits. You're going to see his car there in the pits, and you can see he's on the medium tyre. So straight away I knew that he's going to then put the hard tyres on and go for the undercut. However, I was quite confident that even on the worn tyres, I could probably stay ahead, because I was gaining on lap 1 and 2, even though he was on the medium tyre, which was for about a lap and a half it would have been the faster tyre. But then obviously halfway through the second lap it starts to fade quite drastically. So I was fairly confident if I can just keep this lap smooth on the hard tyre, I should possibly be able to still come out ahead of him. So it's going to be very close. We're going to just have to keep this lap really clean. You can see getting that gap obviously to Kaust now, trying to increase the gap again, because obviously with that incident it's give Kaust the chance to get very close to the slipstream again. But straight away managing to break that toe, you can see over a second, and pushing really hard through this section. This section is the section that the Porsche is a lot better than the other cars. and this gave me the ability to really push and keep it clean at the same time. It was still a very tricky car. I think a lot of people think the Porsche was easy through this section. It was not easy, trust me. On this fourth lap, the car wanted to slide out at every opportunity. I was having to be really taking control of the steering wheel and trying to avoid any oversteer moments. It was a very tricky car at this stage of the race, but I still think it was probably a little bit better than a lot of the other cars. As you can see, managing to get that gap over 2 seconds to Calster and pushing really hard. You can see this was actually a really good in lap for the pit stop. I managed to do quite a nice middle sector and keep the lap time fairly nice. You can see going through the split, we're going to lose some time, but not a massive, only 7 tenths off the best lap I've done so far in the race. So considering we're on the 4th lap with these tyres with times 15 tyre wear, that is not a bad lap so far. I've really kept it quite consistent and really concentrated on getting this in lap done, because I needed to build the lead up, obviously, to ensure that the BMW didn't get back out in front of me. So taking it fairly easy on the pit entry. I didn't want to risk any sort of running wide, spinning the car around or anything like that. It can be done at Bathurst. It's a very tricky entry into the pit, so you've got to take it cautious as we're going in the pits now. And we're just going to put, obviously, the fresh tyres on. No need for fuel in these races now. Much better like this. This is how I like it. We can drive aggressive all the way through the race. No worrying about getting undercut in the pits because someone's obviously put less fuel in. As you can see, we come out the pits and we've come out just ahead of the BMW. So we still managed to hold on to that position, even though he had the lap on completely fresh tyres and we were on very worn tyres. So that shows you the pace was really good. Managing this was really important to come out ahead, because now I can just concentrate on obviously hooking the lines up, getting through the corner nice and cleanly, and then building that gap up again. You can see got quite a comfortable gap to Calster already, as that BMW trying to put a bit of pressure on straight away. Maybe he wants to get past, but I was fairly confident once we get through to this section. This is the section where I can just build that lead back up in the Porsche and really concentrate on hooking them lines up. You can see going through them nice and smooth, hooking the apexes up nice. Had to be a really good outlap this. You can see pushing the limits very close to the wall on both parts of them corners there. And now coming through to the downhill section, the real tricky section of Bathurst, where this is the section where you really wanted that -3 brake bias, because it kept the rear stable on the downhill braking, and you obviously had to make sure you didn't push too hard. This section is really faster if you drive it smooth. The smoother you are, the faster you are. If you drive it too aggressive and too late on the brakes, you lose so much time as the front tyre starts scrubbing and understeering, etc. And then the rear just snaps on you. So that's why you need the brake bias set towards the front. It stabilises the rear, keeps the car nice and smooth, keeps the weight on the front end when we're going downhill, and it just helps the balance of the car massively. As you can see straight away, Zocchi obviously not pitted yet, going for the overcut. I was pretty confident that wouldn't work, obviously with the times 15 tyre wear. I've tried it, it doesn't work anymore. It's something I avoid at all costs, is doing any sort of overcut now with this extreme tyre wear. Maybe he wanted to try and have better tyres to maybe get past some of the other drivers then when he's got the fresher tyres, because he could probably catch up fairly fast. Zocchi's a very fast driver, so he'd have the ability to catch up to the other drivers fairly fast probably, and that's probably what his plan was. But you can see straight away, built that lead up now 1.2 seconds ahead of the BMW, so gained over a second on him on that lap, and now it's going to be a case of gaining even more time, as his tyres are going to be that 1 lap older and my tyres obviously fresher. I can now really go for this lap and try and really put a good lap in now. I wanted to try and put a good lap in purely because of obviously the qualifying as well, just to show people that the speed was there, and obviously what happened, you know, you wouldn't know, people in the lobby didn't know what happened, but obviously if they watch the video they're going to find out. But now just trying to concentrate on hooking this lap up. Even though we're on hard tyres, I wanted to try and see if I could actually beat the qualifying time that I did on the medium tyres, which I felt would have been possible because it was only a 2:03.5. Obviously I didn't get my proper lap in, so I just thought I'd go for it on these hard tyres and see what sort of lap time I can get and keeping it smooth. I knew that a 2:03.45 should be possible because I did it in the practice session that we did before the race when we streamed. And you can see on the down section, it's an okay lap so far. Trying to keep it smooth. This is the real hard section when you're obviously trying to push. Like I said before, trying to be aggressive but controlled as well. If you go too aggressive, the car just loses so much time. Trying to take a nice early corner there, getting on the power nice and early and actually hooking that up really nicely. And you can see actually increasing the lead by over another second now to P2. So It looks like I've got this covered, but I've got to keep pushing. I had to do this. I couldn't afford to just relax. I had to push 100% because I've got to build this lead up over 5 seconds. I needed to get at least a 5-second lead to cover off getting rid of that penalty at the end of the race on lap 8. So you're going to see 100% concentration and trying not to make a mistake. It's obviously massively important that I didn't make any sort of error in this race, because one little error could cost me massive. If it cost me 2 seconds, it could cost me the win in this race. So just keeping it smooth, keeping it calm, and just trying to keep on it now until the finishing line. We go over the lap, finishing that lap on a 2:03.4. So that really does show on the hard tyres how much potential I had on the medium tyres. I think the medium tyres were actually over a second quicker at this track, obviously a long track. So fuel would have took a bit of effect on it. So I think the lap that I was on would have been a 2:02.7 to 8. I think that's what it was looking like, and it would have been, I think, comfortably pole position by 3-4 attempts. So it was a shame that I didn't get that, because I think I would have been able to just lead from the start and actually have quite a comfortable race. But obviously, with that incident, I had to obviously, I managed to get past Calster fairly fast. That wasn't really an issue. He made the mistake and I got past. But then we had the battle with the BMW where he made the mistake running into this wall now as we go through this right-hander. He clipped the wall on the left-hand side, and that gave me the opportunity to get my front end alongside the back part of his car, which we'll show you at the end of the race exactly how that played out. I'm going to go through that in slow motion and show what happened there. But I think I'd go for it again. I've got to start being more aggressive in these races, because you don't win races by not going for overtakes. I've got to start doing it, and I think if I want to get through to the World Finals, I've got to be more aggressive with my approach to racing. So I'm going to try and be more aggressive and go for a lot of moves. I'm going to try and keep it fair, obviously, but if there's a move on and I feel there's a chance of myself getting past and it's a legitimate chance of an overtake, I'm going to go for it from now on. I'm not going to back out. I'm going to try and put more pressure on these drivers and get myself to the top standings, to get myself to these World Tour events. I think it's time that I started doing that and really going for it. I think it's the only way you're going to get good results in these FIA races. So you can see, obviously, this race was a quite a high point race. I knew that there was over 2,500 points up for grabs. I think Org had already done his race. I seen that he had, before I went into this race, I saw that he had 2,600 points. So I knew that I'd need a big high scoring points to stay as close as possible to Org. Obviously he's in Porsche as well, and I feel like he's probably the main competition, although Derek as well. I think Derek must have 2 accounts, because Derek is now in the Porsche and he was in the Golf last season, so I think he must have another account that he uses, because I was really confused to see him in the Porsche. So he's going to be another driver that's going to be really hard to beat in the Porsche. It's going to be a really tough battle this season in the Porsche. There's a lot of fast drivers driving the Porsche. As you can see, comfortably increasing that lead. Now up to 4.8 seconds. Obviously, it nearly got to 5 seconds, but obviously with the speed of that Lamborghini down the straights, it manages to just get a bit closer. I think Calcer got held up for about... He was held up for about a sector, I think, when I looked on the replay. He got held up by the BMW, but only lost about half a second. I think I had this covered anyway. I think I had the speed. I don't think Calcer would have been able to really trouble me, even if the BMW wouldn't have held him up for that one sector, because looking at the lap times, I was able to just keep it nice and smooth. Now on this final lap, I knew that obviously if I kept the gap around 4.5 seconds, that's plenty of time to get rid of a 4.7 second penalty. Obviously this is changing. If no one hasn't seen this yet, the penalty system is getting an overhaul within the FIA races. They are not introducing it into the daily races yet, but it will be coming, it says on the information within game. So the new system that was used in the FIA events that you've seen on the World Tour events is going to be introduced into the game for FIA races from round 3. Obviously in the patch, when the patch comes, so that's when that's going to be coming. So Wednesday when the patch comes, the new FIA penalty system is introduced, but it's not being introduced for daily races. So just bear that in mind. I don't know why they're not introducing it for daily races. I have no idea, unless there's some issues they might still need to work out. Who knows? But you can see they might just be giving people time to get used to it before they introduce it into the daily races. But I would have thought it would have made sense to introduce it to the daily races first and then the FIA, but we'll see how it goes. But you can see coming through to the final sector, got that lead over 5.3 seconds, so comfortably in the lead, and just had to get rid of this penalty now at the finishing line, losing quite a bit of time. You can see actually lost about I think 2-3 seconds worth of time there on the finishing line, getting rid of that penalty. But that was enough to still finish the race in P1 by over 3 seconds. So a comfortable win. Happy with that. We'll have a little look at the incident with the BMW, and we'll also have a little look at the overtake on Calster. I think we didn't see it properly when we were on the replay camera, so we're going to have a little look at the overtake on Calster from behind. Having a look now, so you can see going through this section, very similar to how the BMW made a mistake. Calster makes a mistake. I have a little look there, but I see I couldn't get my front end close enough, so I didn't go for that because the front end wasn't side by side. If I was able to go for it, I would have done. But then going through this section, putting him under a lot of pressure, he turns in way too early, clips the wall. I take advantage and get myself straight up into P2. So a little mistake by Calster there, but obviously Lamborghini, a very hard car to drive, so he did a great job to finish P2 in that Lamborghini, also credit to Calster. But this was the incident with the BMW. You can see there, he hits the wall a lot harder, and at that point there, you can see there's a bit of contact. So let's have a little look at that in slow motion. We're going to have a little look again, and you're going to see why I went for that move, because I actually got my car, I think when at the point of the incident, you're going to see now, let's slow it down and have a little look at where he makes a mistake there. He hits it really hard. He's obviously losing grip, and now at this point now, there's no contact, but let's have a little look on the camera that we can move around. And you can see I actually got my car alongside nearly to his door panel. So I felt like I had earned the right for a bit of space, but he just carried on turning in. You can see he's still turning in. Maybe he didn't know I was there. He carried on turning in. I think if that would have been Calster in that situation, because if you see when Calster made the mistake, he gave me a lot of space. I think he would have lifted then, and I would have gone on the inside, and then Calster probably would have tucked in behind me. I think the BMW didn't see me there. It could be due to the view he uses. You know, we know some of the views don't have the rear view mirror, which they really do need to sort out. But it's obviously something to do with performance on the game. But you can see then he's still turning in, and there's the contact, which then pushes me left and onto the grass slightly. You can see my front left-hand tyre and the rear left-hand tyre get on the grass, and then obviously I've got no grip there, and I'm just getting squeezed all the way down the left-hand side, not giving space. So I think I was okay to go for that move. It was a very aggressive move, I have to admit. But I think I've got to go for these moves. If there's an opportunity like that, he was obviously struggling. At the time, I didn't know how much he was struggling, but he was obviously struggling massively with the tyres. He was on the racing medium tyres, which were not a good racing tyre. So that's where the incident came from, and that's why we had the issue. So unfortunately, he did lose a position, but he managed to hold on to P2 after that instance. So I had a 5-second penalty, so that's why I had to just drive really aggressively. I know a lot of people are going to probably complain saying that was an aggressive move, but that's how it is. I'm going to go for these moves more often. I want to be aggressive and trying to win races. I don't want to be sitting back behind people scared to make a move. That's not how I want to be racing anymore. I want to be getting through to these world finals, and that's the type I want to be driving aggressive. So we managed to pick up the win and take over 2,500 points. So let's have a little look now. How many points? I think it was 2,586, so nearly 2,600 points. So some solid points there for round one. I think I'm actually P2 in the championship in the EU, just behind TRL Org, obviously in the other Porsche. So it's definitely going to be a battle all the way through this season. It's only 4 rounds that count, and there's only 9 races, so it's going to be a really tough battle to keep picking up these good results. That's the important thing, is to really get good scoring rounds to give yourself the best chance in this championship. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video. It was a fun race. There was some incidents, and obviously I would have liked to have not had the contact, but I felt like I earned the right to the space on the inside there. It is a tough place to overtake, but if you want to win these races, you've got to go for every opportunity you can. But I managed to do well at building that gap back up to give myself the ability to get rid of the penalty on the line, and we come away with P1. So thank you again for watching, and make sure if you did enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up, and also make sure you click the notification button so you don't miss any future videos. If you haven't already subscribed, click that subscription button and click the notification button. Thanks again for watching. We should be streaming at some point during the weekend. I'm not sure yet when. I will let people know with a community post on YouTube app, so check that out. Keep it, pay attention. I will hopefully do a stream at some point for possibly tomorrow for practice for the FIA. Not too sure yet whether I'll be able to do it. Depends on time. So if I do get a chance, I will do that tomorrow. Thanks again for watching, everyone, and I'll be back very soon.